Yo, what is good, YouTube? It's your boy Teflon Perp. I am back with another video. Appreciate y'all for watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to tap in, press the like button, and let's get right to it. So I've been watching Zach Wilson recently, and guys, I'm not gonna lie, he looks terrible. I'm talking about he looks like dog shit. Like, I don't know what better way to put it. He's just not looking good. And he was a number 2 pick. And honestly, I was kind of puzzled when the Jets made that pick back in 2021. And I'm still puzzled to this day. Probably even more puzzled than ever, because at that time, I thought, and I think a lot of us thought before the draft combine, that it was just Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and everybody else. And the Jets look like they totally missed on this one. And it's sad because, I'm not gonna lie, the Jets had a pretty good draft. It's not like the Jets GM has just been missing on every single pick. They got pretty much every other pick right, especially on their defense. They got Sauce Gardner, they got Garrett Wilson. Like, it seems like they're getting things right. It's just not working out with quarterback. The Jets, for some reason, cannot get the quarterback, and this goes back for decades. Just to give you guys a glimpse of how bad Zach Wilson is, we're gonna compare him to 2 all-time NFL greats, Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf. Yes, I said it, y'all. We're about to see if Zach Wilson really is amongst the peers of worst quarterbacks to ever play the game. I'm talking about the worst bust ever, the most wasted money in NFL history. Let's see Zach Wilson's part of that group. So I got the stats of Zach Wilson up right now, and so far it's not looking good for your boy. On the 2022 season, these are Zach Wilson's stats. I mean, just the fact that we're not even finished year 2, Zach Wilson's sophomore season, and he already got benched multiple times, should already say what you need to know about how Zach Wilson's career has been going so far, but we're still going to talk about it anyway. In a span of 9 games this season, Zach Wilson has thrown 1,688 yards. That is 32nd in the league. 32nd. There's 32 teams, y'all. You can't make this stuff up. His touchdowns in 9 games, he has 6 touchdowns, tied 31st. Interceptions, he has 7 interceptions, and that's tied for 7th in the league. And he only played 9 games. He hasn't even played as many games as most of these players that are in the top 10 category with him. And his QBR rating, 37.2. Zach Wilson has been nothing short of disappointing for the New York Jets. And the Jets I still feel like are in a good position. Like, this postseason, this regular season for the Jets has been a W in Jets standards. Jets fans, I don't think are, like, yes, they're frustrated because they feel like they had a playoff team that could have been led by a different quarterback. However, even though they missed the playoffs, there's still a lot of optimism for the Jets roster and the Jets future. Again, it's just quarterback they gotta get right. But Zach Wilson, I don't know where he goes from here. I'm not sure what team would really want him. And it's not like he has some leadership quality or he has some personality that captivates the locker room. At least Tim Tebow, dudes like that, at least they had some type of locker room presence. Zach Wilson has proven that he has none of that. So I really don't know where Zach Wilson goes from here. He may just go back to the Mills or something. Now, if we compare this to Ryan Leaf's sophomore season in the league, which was 2000 when he played for the San Diego Chargers, an 11 game played, which is 2 more games than Zach Wilson, granted because Zach Wilson got benched a little longer. Completion percentage, 50%, 161 completions on 322 attempts. Meanwhile, Zach Wilson has 132 completions for 242 attempts on 54.2% completion. So right now, Zach Wilson is a little higher in completion percentage than Ryan Leaf was in his sophomore season. But the thing is that Ryan Leaf has thrown about 80 more attempts. So take it with a grain of salt how you feel, okay? Now let's keep going down the line. Passing yards total this season, Zach Wilson has 1,688 passing yards. Ryan Leaf that season, 1,883. So it looks like he's about on the same path. Granted, Ryan Leaf had a couple more games, so take it with a grain of salt, but it's still very comparable, these stats, in my opinion. And then you got the 6 touchdowns from Zach Wilson, whereas Ryan Leaf that season had 11 touchdowns, almost double the amount of touchdowns in Zach Wilson. However, I will put it into perspective, because even though Zach Wilson's top 10 in the NFL in interceptions was 7, Ryan Leaf had 18 interceptions on only 11 touchdowns when he played. So let's not act like I'm gassing Ryan Leaf or making him seem like he had a better season than Zach Wilson by any facet. They're both, if not comparably, definitely equally bad. But here's the thing that's interesting. Here's the difference in their stats. Passing yards can be inflated based on systems. Completion percentage can be inflated. However, one thing that cannot be inflated is the passer rating metric that shows how good, how efficient of a quarterback you are. Now, Zach Wilson's quarterback rating was 37.2. That's horrific. What do you guys think Ryan Leaf's rating was? 56.2. 56.2, about 20 points higher than Zach Wilson's quarterback rating, both in the same sophomore seasons. That shows how bad Zach Wilson has been. The fact that Ryan Leaf had 20-point better QBR rating, played 2 more games, still doing better, almost double the touchdowns. That's how bad Zach Wilson has been for the Jets. And somehow the Jets still have a 7-9 record. That just gives more credit to their defense than anything for being able to single-handedly win these games without having a real quarterback. Granted, yes, Mike White has had some sauce, but that came very later into the season, and I'm still giving the defense a lot of credit for holding it down because, hey man, 7 wins with the Jets is always a struggle, and we know this. Jamarcus Russell, his stats, however, in his sophomore season, Zach Wilson had 198 completions on 368 attempts. So this was about 54%, 53.8 if you want to be exact and approximate. So yeah, about 54% completion percentage on 2,423 passing yards. He also had a 77 passer rating and a 29.2 QBR. Jamarcus Russell, his QBR was definitely way lower than Zach Wilson by a couple points because Zach Wilson's quarterback rating was 37.2, but again, only by 8 points. 37.2, 29.2. Either way, both of those numbers are going to lose you the game, and that's what your quarterback's producing. You're not going to the playoffs. You're probably not winning a division playing like that. It's just not happening. Even in the 2,423 passing yards. Now, granted, Jamarcus Russell played 15 games in his sophomore season, so he played 6 more games than Zach Wilson. So it's natural that you have more passing yards. However, if we're talking about averages in terms of completion percentages, in terms of average yards, Zach Wilson does have the edge over Jamarcus Russell by 7 to 5.5. But still, his touchdown to interception ratio, granted he played more games, is still better than Zach Wilson because his touchdown ratio is 13 touchdowns to 8 interceptions that season. So he actually had a positive ratio, whereas Zach Wilson has 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. If we always hail Jamarcus Russell as the biggest quarterback bust all time, if we label him as straight garbage and his numbers are looking comparable to Zach Wilson, if we hail Ryan Leaf as probably one of the worst top picks all time, then what is Zach Wilson? And Zach Wilson's numbers are comparable to the two of them. It seems like Zach Wilson has placed himself in a tier of ineptitude that I don't think he will ever recover from. It's sad to say, but I'm not sure where Zach Wilson's career goes from here. Let me know what you guys think. Jets definitely know that they gotta move on from Zach Wilson this offseason. And again, you could say that some of it is play calling, but what can you do as a play caller if your quarterback's just that bad? There's just nothing you could do. So I wouldn't move on from the coach. I say move on from Zach Wilson. Go back in the draft, reevaluate, hit the drawing boards, or maybe try to incentivize some free agent quarterback, maybe like a Tom Brady, something like that can help you win now with the type of defense and receiving weapons that you got. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. It's your boy Teflon Perp. Catch you on the next one.